Have you ever wondered why fear grows louder the moment life gets harder? Why some people break under pressure while others rise with a strength they didn't know they had? And if you ever felt so lost that even your own prayers sounded weak, yet still hoped for a sign? If you listen to the story until the end, you'll discover something you can carry with you for life, something that might change how you see your struggles forever. In a quiet village surrounded by low hills and old fields, where the air smelled of soil and wood smoke, lived a young man named Yusuf. The village was small enough that everyone knew everyone, and simple enough that life rarely changed. Yusuf lived with his mother in a clay-walled home his father had built long before he passed away. The village respected Yusuf for his honesty, his gentle heart, and the way he cared for his small herd of goats. But inside him lived a silent restlessness, one he never let anyone see. He feared losing what little he had. He feared failing the people who depended on him. And in the quiet corners of his heart, he feared that maybe he wasn't strong enough for the burdens life had placed on him. The rains that normally kept the village alive didn't come that season. Days passed with a dry sky, nights turned colder, and the earth cracked open under the weight of the sun. The river near the village thinned until it was little more than a shallow whisper. People prayed together, asking for relief, but each sunrise brought the same burning heat. As the drought tightened its grip on the land, Yusuf's fears deepened. His goats grew thin, their ribs showing through their fur. His mother tried to comfort him, telling him with calm certainty that Allah never tests a heart without purpose. Yusuf nodded each time, but his heart trembled more than he admitted. He prayed every morning before dawn, but lately his prayers felt hollow, swallowed by anxiety. One morning, before the sky even softened into blue, he made a choice. He packed a small bag, took 2 of his weakest goats, and set out toward the hills, hoping desperately for any sign of water, fresh grass, a spring, anything. Stories passed through generations spoke of hidden water deep between the rocks. He clung to those stories more than he clung to logic. The climb was steep, and the ground crumbled under his feet. By midday, the sun hung above him like a burning coin. Sweat slid down his back, and his throat felt like sand. When he finally reached the top, the land stretched endlessly, dry and silent. No water, no shade, no hope. He sat on a sun-heated rock, shoulders heavy, mind spiraling into the kind of thoughts that drag a person down. What if he didn't make it back? What if he had wasted precious time? What if everything slipped through his hands? The goats rested beside him, trusting him entirely, unaware of the panic gripping their shepherd. For the first time in a long while, Yusuf felt tears sting his eyes. He lowered his head and whispered into the stillness, "Ya Allah, I don't know what to do. I am scared. I am tired, but if there is a way, show me." It wasn't a loud prayer or a perfect one. It was raw and real and honest. After a long silence, he heard something faint, a soft rushing sound, almost like wind, but heavier. The goats lifted their heads too, ears twitching. Yusuf stood slowly, listening. The sound was steady, familiar, impossible. Water. Driven by a sudden spark of hope, he followed the sound along a narrow path between jagged rocks. And finally, there it was, a thin stream trickling out from the side of the hill, clear and alive. A spring hidden deep in the rocks, unnoticed by anyone for years. He touched the water with shaking hands. It was cold, real, flowing. His breath broke into gratitude. "Alhamdulillah," he whispered again and again, letting the relief wash through him. He let the goats drink until their bodies relaxed and their eyes brightened. That small spring gave him something stronger than water: confidence, a feeling that maybe he wasn't as alone as he thought. When he returned to the village carrying water skins, people rushed toward him, disbelief turning into joy as he described what he found. They followed him to the hills, and for the first time in weeks, the heaviness lifted from their faces. Children laughed again. Women stored water. Men whispered thanks to Allah as they filled their containers. That evening, as people returned to their homes, the old Imam approached Yusuf. He placed a gentle hand on Yusuf's shoulder and said quietly, "Sometimes, Allah pulls us into difficulty only to push us towards strength. You walked into fear today and found mercy waiting for you." Yusuf didn't respond, but the words settled in his heart like warm light. Only a few days later, clouds began gathering. Slowly at first, then thick and promising. Villagers stepped outside, watching with hopeful eyes. And then the sky finally opened, releasing rain that kissed the earth softly at first, then poured with power. People raised their hands in gratitude, children spun in circles, women cried softly. The land drank deeply, waking from its suffering. Yusuf stood still in the rain, letting each drop soak into his skin. He felt something inside him settle, something calm, steady, unshakable. His mother wrapped her arms around him from behind and whispered, "See, my son? Allah never leaves a sincere heart." Time moved forward, seasons changed, and life returned to normal. But something inside Yusuf stayed different. Whenever new worries rose, as they always do, he remembered the day he climbed the hill with fear and returned with faith. He remembered that prayers didn't need to be perfect, only honest. And he remembered that even in silence, Allah hears. He often visited the spring again, standing quietly beside the small stream as it continued to flow. To him, it wasn't just water. It was the moment he stopped running from fear and started walking with trust. And decades later, villagers still spoke of how Yusuf found water on the driest day. But what they didn't know was that he had also found himself. What you can learn from this story is something simple but life-shaping. No matter how heavy fear feels or how silent life becomes, taking one honest step forward can reveal help you never expected. And sometimes, all it takes is whispering what's truly in your heart and trusting that you are heard.